Before we start our session today, I just wanted to say one of the things in our marriage relationship has always been change. And I don't know if you've noticed or not, if you've watched any of the videos, but Barb's hairstyle changes pretty often, and my beard comes and goes. So we've experienced a lot of change. We've had 4 adult children. We had a full house, and now we have an empty house. And we've been through health issues together, change of all kind, and you're going to experience change. I already have. But there's one thing that has not changed in our relationship, and that's our deep love and respect for one another. And we're today going to talk about words of affirmation, which are so very important in a marriage relationship or any relationship as far as that goes. No one likes to hear negative comments about them as a person or whatever, especially in a marriage relationship.
And words can make or break a relationship, and they can make or break a marriage. So we're going to just talk about that a little bit. Of course, that's that's the love language that is mentioned in Chapman's book, Affirming Words.
And some people don't have that gift, if you want to call it a gift. It's something that you can develop, and you probably learn the hard way when you say something and hurt someone's feelings. Barb has always been able to say to me, "That hurt me." And it gives me a clue. Don't do that again. Now, sometimes I do. And she says, "That hurt me." And we go round and round with that. But eventually you learn to keep silent on some things and learn to say the positive things when you should. And so that's what we want to talk about today in a marriage relationship.
Yeah, I love words. I like to write, and Tom says I like to talk. But so I love words. They're so important, and words build up or tear down. So we're going to try to help you. And if you do on every one of our videos, there's a list. There are some questions and things to discuss, and in this one there are some ideas for how to say good words. There's suggestions.
For example, and Barb, when she was growing up in teen years, was told by her mother that she wasn't, I won't say the word, she just indicated that her daughter wasn't really smart.
She told me I was stupid. Yeah, I can say that word.
Well,
now.
Yeah, but those words went very deep into the soul of this precious woman here. And I think she's overcome that, but I do know it's been a struggle. And what I'm saying is words hurt. And I remember as a kid, maybe you've heard this little saying, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me." We used to say that on the playground when someone would call you just something silly, and you would say, "Oh, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me." Well, they do hurt, and they go down deep inside, and actually you can recover from sticks and stones. The physical body will heal, but sometimes the soul, the deepest part of our heart, is really hurt, and it takes years to get over some things, and sometimes people don't ever get over it. But anyway, words are very, very important in how you use them.
Whether it's your love language or not, and I know you probably have tested or can test which love language is yours, but Tom and I are convinced that the longer you're married, you really will speak all languages. Now, you may really need one more than the other, but we think everybody should speak good words.
Yeah, that's just it's just being a good person, speaking good words to people. building people up, encouraging them. It works in the marriage, obviously, but it works in your workplace. It works in your other relationships, in church or wherever. It's just important.
And there's many scriptures, one that comes to mind right now. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable to the Lord. And it needs to be acceptable to others. You're going to tell us a little funny.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know if you've heard this or not, like the 7 stages of a cold, like in the winter months you get a cold. And so the first year, the wife gets a cold and the husband says, "Oh, sweetheart, I'm so sorry you're not feeling well. Let me do the supper this evening, and you take some aspirin and, go rest and so forth." And then the third year after marriage, he says to her, "Oh, honey, I think you've got a cold. Why don't you take something for it?" And then 5 years later, she comes in maybe one day from work and she has a little fever and a cold. And he says, "I can tell you're not feeling well. Why don't you go get in your chair in there and sit down?" And then after a few more years, she has a cold and he says something like this: "I believe you've got a cold. I know you do because you're barking like a dog, and I just wish you'd get out of here. You're going to give it to me." Well, you get the drift, I guess. That sometimes
it can be nice when you first
get married, and then after a while you can kind of show your true self, and that's not good.
In a marriage,
Yeah.
Especially not good in a marriage. So we can change in lots of ways, but we should not change in how we speak. Tom and I are probably more kind to each other now than we were almost 61 years ago. But and we say please and thank you. I know some of the things we say on the videos may overlap or be a repeating, but some things it's okay to repeat.
Yes.
And it's very how you speak to one another sets the tone in your house, especially with children. They hear you, they learn manners. Maybe you don't even have to teach them per se, but you have manners with each other.
If you're an example of manners, the kids pick it up.
I rarely ask Tom to do something for me without saying please. And when he does, I say thank you. If you've watched a couple of these videos, you know that 4 days from now, it will be 9 months. I broke my ankle 9 months ago, the 27th of February. So I broke right now, I forget where I was going with that.
Well, it's been very, very difficult for her. And she's had some down days when she didn't
think I'd ever walk again.
Yeah.
But that's where I was going. He has been so encouraging. Not only has he had to help and do things he's never done before, but I've always thanked him, especially because he's had to go over and aboard what he would normally do. So I've just tried to be so appreciative and to share that with him.
Well, this is not a lesson on rocket science. It's just really simple about saying good words to one another. And you can always find a way to compliment your mate. And I think Barb is the most beautiful woman in the world, and I tell her that all the time, and I think she believes that, but she is she is the most beautiful person to me. And beauty is not just the skin, you know that. Beauty is much deeper, and she's a beautiful, beautiful person. And those of you who know us know that to be true. And so saying those kinds of things builds up your partner and encourages them. She tells me I'm strong. Well, I'm not as strong as I used to be, but I like to hear that anyway, whether I know it's not always the case, but I still like to think of myself as a strong man. But
Well, I think you get the idea that we have affirmed each other. I
yeah,
think it is so important. Have you ever been in a group of with a couples? You go to a couples party or some, and there's usually one man, maybe or two that get together, and they kind of put their wife down or make fun a little bit. They say they're kidding, or it's just a joke, and but it's hurting. It's hurting the person because especially if you say those kinds of things in front of other people. And Tom has done that on occasion. That's one of the things. And they're just sometimes with they're a couple of men. It's just how they relate to that particular man. It's easy, but it hurts. And I tell him, and he said, "Barbara, I was just kidding." And I say, "No, it's not. That's not
well,
good kidding. It's not good kidding."
we have to work through those things, and you probably have experienced that as well. It's just part of being two human beings occupying the same house and the same space.
And we, on these videos, or what we tell you, we want to be so honest with you that I mean, we've experienced all things. But like he said, and next week well, I'm not sure it'll be next week, but our next video is going to be committed to change because we will, and so, but one thing should never change is like you said, your commitment to each other. So, but when we first read this book, The Five Love Language, I think it was published in 1992, we'd already been married 20-something years, maybe 30. And then I always assumed Tom's language, his first love language, was words of affirmation, because I'd already started doing that, I think maybe because he was a preacher, or maybe because I had not been affirmed as a child, and what I just learned. So I just told him he was the best preacher I'd ever heard, and those kinds of things. But and that is his second love language, and if you've listened to the other videos, his first love language is physical touch. But like I said, we speak all languages. But after 60 years, you can learn to speak lots of languages. So
I think the key really to a happy marriage is learning to speak all the languages. Obviously, the gift giving is not real big with either one of us because we give each other compliments and encouragement all the time, and so a gift is not necessary, but we do that on occasion. I mean, obviously birthdays and Christmas and things like that. But some of you will have that as a primary gift of need in your life, to receive a gift and or to give one. And so the love languages are a guide, I guess, to relationships. And when you learn to respect those and speak all of them as best you can, then you have pretty much all the bases covered for a good, happy relationship.
in the book, in this chapter on affirming words, you'll remember that Mark Twain said he could live 2 months on a good compliment. Well, if you can live 2 months on a good compliment, just think if you gave somebody a compliment every day, and that would be great. So I used to, I'm not sure where I heard this when we first married, but or I just read it, or I came up with it, but I learned to find something new about Tom every day. And I would tell him something new, something good, and I would just tell him that. Well, those kinds of words just started, just happening. I try every now and then now to think of something that I've just learned about him or found out, and so I don't know.
About covered all the bases, haven't we?
I've probably got him pretty much known by now.
She's got me figured out.
But
yeah.
I never take that for granted. Never take that for granted. And so just know it's good to compliment each other.
But it's got to be real. You just can't say words, and it's got to come from the heart. Your partner will know if you really mean it or if you're just trying to be nice about something, because actions and words go together. And obviously, you know that. And if you say something to a person and then turn around and do something that counteracts that, then the words really don't mean anything. So your actions have to back up your words. And I think we do that pretty well. I goof up pretty often, but Barb's very good at affirming me, and I give her the compliment for that. Thank
because
you.
he's so good. He's so
Yeah,
he's so good to me. Anyway, this other book, and we've mentioned it before, Willard Harley's His Needs, Her Needs, and it kind of goes along with this book as well. But he has a chapter in there on admiration is a need of a man, but it's a need for all of us. We all need to be admired, But Harley says, one of the things he says is a man simply thrives on a woman's admiration. Can you imagine? I mean, I used to give the balloon illustration. You know, marriage or relationships like a balloon, but I gave that in the things how I wanted to build Tom up, and I fill that balloon until it just gets big and big and big. You don't want it to burst, so you just give praise and compliments. Like he said, they have to be real. And sometimes you don't feel like doing it. If you're sick, then you
have to be understanding too when you don't feel well, and you can be short and say things you shouldn't say. And I'm sorry is always two good words to keep on the front of your tongue in a marriage relationship.
We have this couple that they were younger than we were, and we'd been around them. You know, we knew them quite well. But and then one day, we learned they were getting a divorce. So we found out later that his love language was words of affirmation. He needed to be admired or affirmed. And his lovely wife, she was great. We enjoyed her, but she never did that. She finally was so busy with the children, she just never did. And if you don't get it from your wife, what might happen?
If at work, a man goes to work and he cleans up better to go to work, obviously. Sometimes he might be a little slouchy around the house, but at work he's nice, he smells good, and a woman down the hallway says something to him, compliments him, builds him up. He's not getting it at home, so what do you think's going to happen there? I mean, this goes on in the workplace all the time, and that's one of the reasons for divorces is that two people cannot communicate their love and appreciation for one another and keep that real and warm and effective, and you'll have a great relationship for many, many years, and your love tank will be full and her love tank will be full, and that's what it's all about.
And I think learning to speak love languages and then finding out his needs and he finds out my needs, it protects your marriage from divorce, from affairs. And this couple that I just shared about, they were married 25 years, had 4 children, and he had an affair because somebody just thought he was young and dashing, I mean, they shared this with us. So it not only does love language, learning the right love language and speaking them grows your marriage, develops your marriage into a beautiful thing. It protects your marriage, protects your children. So we just advise you to learn, if you haven't read the book, the chapters on the love languages, it's a really it's almost a must in a
Yeah, it's
marriage.
very,
I mean,
very
I know
helpful.
today there's so many books out there, but this one has been around a long time. I think it was first published in 1992, and so and we're not pushing a book by any means but we are pushing
The principles in the
the
book.
principles and the work it takes and the words you need to learn to speak and how to speak them. And so we just encourage you to speak good words.
Okay, I think that about covers that for today. We'll certainly get back to you on other subjects in upcoming videos, but please take this to heart and practice it, and you'll be all the better for it in your relationship.
God bless you.